All right, now let's start with the Alan Tremantin issue. Was it out of the moon for you? How did it come to you when you heard it?
Bro, thank you very much for the opportunity. Let me say a very good morning to your viewers and the people of Bia East. Alan has done it before. In 2007, he did resign from the NPP party because of some issues that he wasn't happy with. And then with yesterday, many pointers were raising issues about it. Either Alan will go the full haul of the process or he will resign along the way. But I didn't get him because reading his press release, the issues that he raised. Though Northeast, we heard of an attack of his agent and some intimidation, according to his press release, before and after the election, some pronouncement by some party official. He wasn't happy with it, and everybody thought Alan could either lead the process as the special delegate or be placed second. Yeah. But he came third. So he got the sense that these people don't need me in the NPP political party any longer.
But he didn't say he's out of the political party.
No,
he says it's the presidential that he is out.
That's my personal conclusion on that. Because I've worked with you guys for all these years. Akufo-Addo made mention of it, that after my tenure, you will be the next person to inherit the Flagbearership position. That's why they came by the acronym DRUSO and all that. So if we had to go to Special Delegate Congress, and then I could not become the number one, number two, and I got the position of number three. Charlie, something is wrong somewhere.
But is it not your own doing if you were third? Because someone was second. Kennedy Japan came second. So is it not his own doing that placed him third?
All over the years, nobody I've ever heard Ken having an ambition of becoming a president of this nation.
Yeah.
Never. We know him to be a member of parliament. So just 5 months to this time, he just came to the race, started campaigning. Even we thought he was joking until he picked the form and paid the money and filed. So for me to do all these things all over this, he's contested. This is the fourth time of Alan contesting.
Yeah.
So if you will not let me lead the party and I will not be number second, Charlie, something is wrong somewhere. So this intimidation is just a one-off thing because he couldn't mention two people, only one. Yeah. That's Northeast.
Yeah.
And the pronouncement, he couldn't mention any name.
Yeah.
So what is the point? You need to go the full haul, fight it, even if you lose it, lose graciously, so that your supporters will see that next time. Don't think about the age. Next time, if Alan comes forward for any position, we will be there to support him. But I said he's done some consultations. I don't know, either he want to go solo, like go independent or whatever. I don't get it.
Let me share with our viewers the details of his statement, and then I'll come to you. Now, he says on Sunday, the 27th of August, 2023, I issued a public statement which made reference to the selection and shortlisting of presidential aspirant by the Special Electoral College convened by the New Patriotic Party on 26th of August 2023. After having carefully analyzed the results of the said elections, it is absolutely clear to me from events leading to, during and after the elections, that the Special Delegate Conference was strategically and tactically skewed in favor of one particular aspirant. The pronouncement made by some leading members of our party, both before and after the elections, also lend weight to my observations. The level of intimidation of varying intensity, directly and indirectly unleashed on a significant number of delegates at various voting centers across the 16 regions, is unprecedented in the history of our party. In addition, the fact that my polling agent in the Northeast region has suffered severe damage to his eyesight arising from his bold and courageous effort to ensure compliance with the very rules and regulations for the conduct of the elections as approved by the Presidential Elections Committee will forever remain a dark spot in the history of internal elections within the party. This incident and various acts of violence and collusion reported in other voting centers are appalling, unconscionable, and despicable. I am committed to and value the safety of those who work with me and for me and will always fight for their interest. The question I keep asking myself is, quote, how did we get here as a party in the first place? And how far are we prepared to tread on this dangerous path to self-destruction, unquote. Regrettably, I am not convinced that the circumstances I have referred to earlier will not persist or even be escalated in the next round of elections for which balloting is scheduled for Wednesday, 6th of September 2023, which is today. In the light of the foregoing, I wish to confirm that I am honorably withdrawing from the process that will lead to the presidential primaries to be held on the 4th of November 2023. In the next upcoming weeks, I will provide an indication of the role that I will play in politics in Ghana after consultations with my family and other well-wishers, various stakeholders and interest groups. I wish all the other aspirants well as they continue on their journey. I also wish to use this opportunity to express my profound gratitude once again to my family, the Alan for President A4P campaign team, and all my teaming supporters in Ghana and from around the world who have supported me in diverse ways over the years. Please be assured that the battle is still the Lord's, and that those who wait upon the Lord shall have their strength renewed. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Honorable, you're laughing.
Yeah, you know.
Why are you laughing? That's the statement that the man sat and brought out.
Yeah.
It's laughable to you?
Yeah, it's very interesting statement. Because all of us are aware of the establishment candidates. Do you understand? Which is Bawumia, we know. And they compare their register just to favor Bawumia.
How?
I'm a politician. I've been around for more than 11 years as a member of parliament. So we know what it is to create an album.
Did they bring in someone who was not supposed to be there?
You know, election is a process.
Okay.
Do you understand? So picking people from the branch level, constituency level, regional level to national level, if you have political interest, you try to select people that will do the bidding for you.
Okay, and that doesn't mean they are playing with the register, does it?
So who is in charge? Akufo-Addo is in charge, Bawumia is the vice president, and Akufo-Addo has done serious damage to this economy and is exiting 2024. He needs somebody who will cover up for him. Do you understand? So there's no way he will bring an outsider to superintend whatever he did to this economy. And Allah was part of the problems. And then Bawumia is part of the problem, but the major challenge and beneficiary is Bawumia. So let me put Bawumia up so that Bawumia, as a vice president, becomes the next president. But God forbid, he's not coming to be the president because John Mahama is coming. So that Bawumia will do the bidding and then the cover up for me. So there's no way he will do this thing for Allah. Do you understand?
But the party is different from the government. The party has the party chairman, has the general secretary, has the executives. How do you say that the president...
The party produced the president and then the running mate. Because before you want to be a president, you need to choose a running mate.
Yes, I get it.
And the Council of State or Council of Elders must endorse that candidature. Do you understand? So if you put the person up and you go for a campaign and all that, everybody told us everything, especially the economy, the brain behind everything is Bawumia.
Yeah.
He has deep knowledge about the economics. The city will be stabilized. They're going to reduce prices, moving from taxation to production. Everything was done by Bawumia. Look at the lectures he organized throughout all the universities in this country. Do you understand? And now, where do we see the same rates? Look at the numbers. Look at inflation. Look at unemployment rates. So, even when he was going to cast his ballot, the president, somebody asked him, times are hard. People are complaining. And he said, a new leader will come and face it.
Well, I did ask the question.
I decided not to mention your name. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it was admission of failure that he couldn't face it. So who is the new leader here? Is it NDC leader or MPP leader?
No, but he continued to say that. But I think it's going to be an MPP leader to take us out of it. He said a new leader will.
But we disagree. We disagree with him because John Mahama is winning the 2024 elections.
Okay.
Do you understand? It's not by a word of mouth. We are going to work towards it.
Okay.
We are not going to sleep and assume that the Ghanaians will give us power on a silver platter. No way. So, Alan has an issue with Akufo-Addo and the entire architecture. So the point is, why should I go invest money into this? By the end of the day, I know I will not win.
So I'll preserve my money rather.
But in politics, sometimes it's difficult quitting.
Okay.
You need to go the full haul, lose graciously, so that people will have issues to tell you, oh, Charlie, you did your best, but the system did not favor you.
Okay.
But to run away as a gentleman is serious.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Kabiru Mahama. He is with the he is at the vice president's office, and he was a member, or he is a member of the vice president's campaign team. Doctor, good morning to you and thanks for coming.
Good morning, Samuel, and good morning to your cherished viewers.
How did the camp of the vice president receive this announcement by Mr. Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen that he is withdrawing because the election was skewed in favor of the vice president? Well, anyway, I shouldn't say vice president, as one of the candidates.
Well, so the first and foremost, the expectation of the team was that Mr. Alan Kyerematen withdrew in the towel. He was taken out of the process because any good advisor to Mr. Alan Kyerematen would have advised him safe. Because when you have a presidential ambition and each year or each time you make an attempt at that particular ambition, the fortune, your chances keep on jingling. It will not make sense to go through the process and not make an impact. Because as a politician, you must watch the language of the electorate. You must watch the mood of the people. And if I were to be Mr. Alan Kyerematen, I would have taken the same decision. And I know that, and I know for sure that they have engaged political consultants. They have advised him on this decision. So when we heard of the intended press conference to be organized by Mr. Alan Kyerematen, we were clear in our mind that that probably was going to be the platform to share with his supporters that he was no more on the road. Okay. And that he has gotten to the run of the runway, and it was going to be a difficult decision to take off. So he would rather stop the flight than to crash with the flight. So that didn't come to us as a surprise at all. The reasons assigned to that decision is not different from the reasons Mr. Alan Kyerematen gave for his resignation in 2008. When he lost the election to Nana Akufo-Addo in the same process, the same reasons, in fact, the same reasons. And if you listen to the reasons, he mentioned then that there were intimidation of his party supporters across the country. And his spokesperson then, Mr. Kuku Wilson Jones, as well as Charles Sam, they spoke vehemently on this issue of intimidation. The same reasons are given to us today by Mr. Alan Kyerematen as the reasons why he is no more contested. But you know, a politician must first and foremost understand, as I said, the mood. The spirit of the NPP is currently with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. So if you go to an election and you know it, the best thing you should have done is to, accept responsibility like Mr. Kobana Ajampong did, and to say that the people have spoken. But to assign reasons like the voter has been, or the register has been skewed towards a certain aspirant is to shift the blame, to shift the responsibility, to fail to take responsibility for your own poor showing. And I think that that is a bit that's unfortunate about it. When you look at the register, it is a constitutional provision of who is qualified to vote. The Constitution, as amended by the NPP, provided that a certain category of people should vote. No one outside of that category was brought into the register to vote. That is one. Two, members of parliament are part and parcel. In fact, they constitute one of the largest groups in this register. Bawumia was the only candidate who went and sought the approval and consent and support of members of parliament prior to his decision to contest. Most of the aspirants didn't go. Thirdly, Mr. Alan Chiramanten did not do the campaign Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia did, even though he had got the support of many people in Ghana who probably would have campaigned for him. He still went to all the 16 regions of the country. Mr. Alan Chiramanten never went to all the 16 countries. In the case of the special delegates, in fact, the 3 or 5 northern regions, he had to bring them to a centralized place. But Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia went to all these people, apart from visiting all constituencies in the south. I mean, there are 5 regions in the south: Greater Accra region, Central region, Ashanti region, Western region, and then Central region. Okay. The other candidates didn't do that. So if a person is winning an election by virtue of the hard work, by virtue of the dedication he put into the campaign, the commitment of his campaign team, you don't come at the end of the day and lose the election and you want to blame it on other reasons. As I said, those reasons were the same reasons he gave when he lost to Nana Akufo. Despite the fact that he had more or less a sitting president supporting him, he still cited reasons of intimidation of his agents and his supporters. So that is not a new reason. I mean, those reasons are not new. My only sense is that Mr. Alan Chiramanten has got, and in fact, the statement that he would decide on his new rule or new contribution to the policy of Ghana was contained in his resignation letter when he gave it to the party. Okay, so I mean, these reasons are not new, but I just feel that Mr. Alan Chiramanten has taken a right decision for himself, but he cannot face his supporters and tell them that, look, on the back of the results, on the back of the results we had, I cannot continue the rule. In fact, the content of Alan was with Mr. Kennedy Agyapong. It wasn't with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. If you look at the results, he was battling for a position with Mr. Kennedy Agyapong. So from the word go, I've been issue, he had gotten his target wrong. Because I feel like his focus should have been how do I undo Mr. Kennedy Agyapong and become a second force. But now he failed to do. He couldn't compete with Mr. Kennedy Agyapong. He only came third after Mr. Kennedy Agyapong had placed second. And
but we've heard of, you know, intimidation strategies that were employed to ensure that the vice president, you know, wins this. We've heard it from people who say that because they declared their support for Alan Chiramanten, they were relieved of their position. We've heard of people who were threatened that if they support any other candidate apart from Dr. Bawumia, they will be relieved of their post. And so, you know, he's only re-echoing the sort of things that people have said in the past, that it looks like the party is intimidating people in the favor of the vice president.
Yeah, I mean, that decision, I mean, that allegation is, I mean, frivolous. That allegation has no legs to stand on. That allegation has no basis on the fact of the election. And for one to suggest that any candidate has been, I mean, any activist or agent or supporter of any of the candidates has been intimidated, it to be untrue to oneself. Let me give you the fact. There were several members of parliament, okay, who supported other candidates, especially Mr. Alan Chiramanten. Nothing happened to them. There were cabinet ministers of state who supported Mr. Alan Chiramanten. Nothing happened to them. There were CEOs who supported Mr. Alan Chiramanten. Nothing happened to them. None of them lost their job. So to say that you've been threatened that if you support Mr. Alan Chiramanten, you lose your job, it is to tell a lie. Okay? And we must be bold in calling out some of these things. Let us face the reasons why we defeated the Ghanaian people, the Special Delegates Conference, whose composition is a creature of the NPP Constitution, decided that for the time being, our spirit is with Bawumia, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And to that extent, we will support it. And whenever the spirit of the party is the person, you have no reason but to go along. If you are facing that particular force, you will be considered as an outcast in the party, because that is what the cream of the party is actually yearning for. The roots and then the grasshopper of the party is looking for a certain candidate. And in this current time, Mr. Alan Chiamante does not fit in that particular scheme of aspects. And that is basically the reason why his vote he's not performed so well in this election.
Hobson Adoya told me and my colleague on the day of election that he, for example, lost his job because he was supporting Alan Chiamante. What happened to that? Why was he relieved of his position?
Who said he lost his job because he was
Hobson Adoya, yeah.
Hobson is not being true. Hobson was not even, he has not been relieved before he started campaigning for Mr. Alan Chiamante. Okay, he's not the only person who is supporting Mr. Alan Chiamante and government. I gave you an example, like Mr. Akitamewu in the last engagement. I gave you Fly Chechen. He's a member of parliament and committee members and board chairs. He is not in relief of any of that particular governmental appointment. Okay, Deputy Minister for Finance, we all know, has not been relieved of that particular position. I can go on and on with several people. Okay, the fact of the matter is that your numbers, because they are not many, you think that because the majority of the other candidates support another person, you think that they don't have minds of their own, they have been quick to support that particular person. It's not to be fair to those people, as I've always argued. We don't go on that target, that the simple fact that absolute majority of government appointees are supporting a particular candidate, then your conclusion thereof is that those people are intimidated and that they fear losing their jobs. That is the reason why they are supporting a certain candidate. In 2007, when the majority of government appointees were supporting Mr. Alan Chiamante, he still cited intimidation. Okay, so for me, it is not an issue that if there's any person who has had intimidation, either direct or indirect, being blackmailed, is the vice president who should be complaining. But of course, many of the decisions that were taken, he was not comfortable with some of the decisions, but he kept quiet because he had abiding faith in the party to do the right thing. The things that will let us leave power in 2024. Okay, so because of that faith, he was quiet. So, but majority of the activists of Mr. Alan Chiamante, you saw them make allegations, you saw them attacking people, you saw them insulting people when they should be focused on the campaign. I have had opportunity to discuss this, and I told on your city, I mentioned that look, we shouldn't go on the path of insulting one another because it will be difficult to come back to support when you don't win in the likely event. At the end of the day, when you don't win, and that is essentially what has happened. To go back on the words, or to go back and sit down and reflect, and to come and join the party is not going to be difficult. So they will have to find reasons. Some of those reasons are non-existent to justify why they cannot continue and why they will stand aside and will go. But I hope that we will not repeat the mistakes of 2018 in the upcoming election in 2024. Okay,
let me bring in Honorable Vincent Teko, who is Member of Parliament for Old Tafo. Honorable, good morning. Do you have Honorable with me?
Good morning.
Great. I'm good. So you are a member of Parliament. The MPs, all of you had a side for which you are supporting. What do you make of the decision by Mr. Alan Chiamante to withdraw from this, and what impact would it have on the process which is to come on the 4th of November?
Well, let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers. First and foremost, let me state that I was not surprised to have seen the press release from the office of the Honorable Alan Chiamante withdrawing from the race. Mind you, the NPP is a democratic party. It's a party that is founded on solid credentials of democracy. And so There's nothing like drumiso or anything. I mean, it is your work, it is your worth. That is what the party is going to base on and vote for you. I took time to go through the press release, and I was very surprised the kind of reasons that were churned out or given out as the basis for him to withdraw from the race. Because if the Honorable Alan Kyerematen, number one, says that there were some leading members of the party who came up publicly to support a particular candidate, and for that matter, that is a basis for him to say that I am not contesting anymore. And I come back to say, why would anybody make such a claim? Because from both sides of the candidature, that is Dr. Bawumia and Alan Kyerematen himself, there were members of parliament and ministers of state who came out publicly to say that they are supporting a particular candidate. In fact, in 2007-2008, when he was the system candidate, there were a number of ministers, even in fact, at the time, the chief of staff, who was at the forefront of his campaign. That was not a problem for him. Why now? Because if today, as a member of parliament for Otafo, by virtue of my affiliation or by virtue of my belief in the credentials of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, I come out to publicly say that I'm giving my support to Dr. Bawumia, which I did. In fact, I did it even at the time that the party had barred members of parliament, or if like appointees or anybody, to come out publicly to support a candidate, which made the National Executive Committee, if like the Disciplinary Committee, invited me to the party headquarters. There were other people who were also members of parliament, ministers of state, who also came out publicly to support the Honorable Alan Kyerematen. So it cannot be a basis. It cannot under any imagination be a basis for Honorable Alan Kyerematen to say that it is on that basis I am withdrawing from the race. Because the Honorable Amewu, who is a cabinet minister, decided to support the Honorable Alan Kyerematen. The Honorable Abna Osiasare, my sister, who is also a member of parliament and the deputy minister of finance, also decided to support Honorable Alan. Nothing happened. Number two, the Honorable Alan Kyerematen in his press release also stated that the elections were skewed towards a particular candidate. And my very good friend, the Honorable Member of Parliament who is in your studio, also stated that the register was skewed in favor of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Then I asked the question, per the constitution of the New Patriotic Party, it has stated the people who are supposed to be members of the Special Delegate Conference or Congress, who are supposed to elect 5 people out of any number, which is more than 5, who decides to contest for presidential candidate. And it is the party that has decided, if like the party constitution, that has enumerated such people, members of parliament, that is about 137 of us, who decided, or if you like, who are supposed to be voting, the former president. I don't know if the Honorable, or if like His Excellency John Ajekun Kufuor, anybody put him in the register, skewed it in favor of a particular candidate. I don't see how that is reasonable. I don't see how former general secretaries like Kwabena Japan and Ohininto, especially Ohininto, who was a vociferous campaign team member of the Honorable Alan Kyerematen, was skewed towards a particular candidate, which is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I also don't see that basis, and it beats my imagination for anybody to think that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, if you like, a particular candidate, was favored per the register that was turned out by the party's constitution.
So you don't agree with Alan Kyerematen over his reasons that he's given?
That is why I'm saying that if you juxtapose the reasons that has been given with the reality, it is very inconsistent. It makes no sense. And it is a dent on the process or the electioneering process that had been set out by the New Patriotic Party. Because out of the 16 regions, the press statement is saying that there was a widespread intimidation.
Uh-huh.
Where was the widespread intimidation? It is only one instance in the Northeast where someone who was supposed to be voting was being resisted by Alan's agent. Just one scenario out of 16 regions.
No, but we heard of other places which even got Mr. Kennedy Japan very angry, and we all had, the sort of things that he said there.
And his team was called. I was in the Ashanti region, where the regional youth organizer decided to vote, and he was resisted by agents of Alan Shamartin and other people. But I'm just saying that there was nowhere in all the regions, apart from the Northeast instance, where there was any intimidation or whatsoever. Any delegate who has been mandated by the Constitution of the New Patriotic Party, like myself, was allowed to vote freely without any intimidation. Now, let me give you the reason. Let me give you the right reason.
Do that for me in a minute, and then let me move on.
Something failed to do. As a member of parliament, I stay in my house around 11 p.m. I receive a call. I decide not to pick because I don't know where the call is coming from. Then my bell starts to ring. I come out only to see that it is the vice president who wants to see me. Now, I am just using myself as an example, the reason or the rationale behind the success of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, which other candidates are failing, as it were, to understand. Now, he comes to my home and says, Vincent, as young as I am, the vice president comes to my home and says that I need your support. Can you please help me to achieve this dream of mine? The other candidates fail to do that. I can tell you, with the exception of the Honorable Jogate, no candidate even called me. What does that mean? It means that there was somebody who was very serious with the work that he was doing, who knew what he wanted, and came down to the people with all humility and decided to canvass for votes, which he did, and for that matter, was able to show up during the special delegates conference. Okay. So even if he fails to put in the hard work and fails, you cannot adduce such reasons and say that the election was skewed towards anybody.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. John Osai Kopon. He is a CDD fellow. We've been with Doc all through the process. Before the election day, I spoke to him here. Doc, you've seen the process, how it went about. You've seen the reactions that have come in. You've heard Mr. Alan Chairmantin say that because of the intimidations that went on, because of the injury that one of his observers got, he can no longer continue to be part of the process and he is withdrawing. What do you foresee to be the impact of this action of Mr. Chairmantin on the process to elect a flag bearer and on the party itself going into 2024?
Thank you and good morning. I don't think it would have an impact on the process itself. It's now down to 4 candidates. There are rules in place, there are procedures in place, and those rules and procedures will continue to govern what happens on November 4th. It's unfortunate that one of the reasons that Mr. Alan Chairmantin, pointed to was, the nature of the process or the conduct of what happened, during the, Super Delegate Saturday. I would have hoped that whatever grievances there were, he would have given the party, a chance to resolve those grievances, probably put in some mechanisms or added measures so that the issues that he's raising as issues of concern may not repeat themselves. Probably give the party, let's say, up to the end of September, middle of October, to see if the party is demonstrating quote unquote good faith that they would address those things. And if you are still dissatisfied, then perhaps you can make that decision that is this something that I even want to participate in or not. So for me, it doesn't immediately affect the process. I wish that he had given the party a chance to also resolve some of these grievances to his dissatisfaction or otherwise. Then he could have ultimately said, I don't want to be part of this. Who knows? Maybe he tried in the background. I can speak to that. But in terms of its impact on the party, I always say that going into an election, every party needs unity. And therefore, they must make efforts to stop anything that chips at the party's unity. Therefore, for me, with his withdrawal from the race, yes, I know that in politics it would come with some trolling, some teasing, all of those things. But I think ultimately it is incumbent upon the party to be gracious towards him. I always say that we have to be gracious in victory and we also have to be gracious in defeat. But I think it is very incumbent on the party going into 2024, knowing that unity is important in an upcoming election, to try as much as possible to make sure that they treat Mr. Alan Kyerematen with grace and with dignity. Even if he said things in his withdrawal letter that, maybe people or sections within the party may not agree with. Ultimately, how you treat him and how you resolve post-primary grievances, I think goes a long way to ensure that nothing destabilizes, party unity going into an important election.
Would people be right to say it's sort of becoming a known trend of Mr. Kyerematen when in such races things don't go according to his wish?
I mean, when you look on the face of it, that is what it appears, right? So if you recall what happened, in the lead up to the 2008 election and his participation in that primary, resignation, reasons alluded to, and seen in this instance as well. It doesn't augur well for the perception that it fuels in terms of what happens when, quote unquote, he doesn't win, or the caliber of a politician that he is. Yes, these things don't contribute positively to the kind of politician that he is. Because should he someday decide that he wants to contest flag bearership again of the NPP, I can see him being reminded of these two instances.
All right. Let me bring in the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC for the party's response to all of this, and then I'll let him go. Mustafa, good morning to you. Thanks for joining.
Morning, Bruce. Thanks for having me.
How is the party taking all of this development in the NPP?
There are a lot of developments. Which one are we?
I mean, Alan Kyerematen's own is the latest. He, getting out of the race. How is the NDC reacting to this?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us. Basically, we are watching from afar. And for us in the NDC, we would not wish that we tread on the weaknesses of the NPP, but to come into government on a strong conversation, a conversation that brings together all Ghanaians for the fight of a common destiny, a conversation that unites this country around an understanding that we all ought to live and we all ought to do well, which is why we have brought back a flag bearer who has experience, a flag bearer who has a track record to come and lead that agenda in this critical period that we find ourselves. Again, we believe that the totality of the cracks, what would Alan have done otherwise? If you have an entire establishment, government machinery, resources, backed by the sitting president, supporting his vice president. And don't forget that before they went for the superdelegate conference, we have said that Bawumia is a candidate for the establishment, the Akufo-Addo establishment. His candidate stands for a cover-up. His candidate is an agenda to cover for the sins, criminal activities of the sitting establishment led by His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. It is only Bawumia whose candidature can guarantee that the president is covered for all the wrongs he has committed against the people of Ghana. And so he will go heaven and earth, financially, machinery, systems, to ensure that Bawumia becomes the candidate. And one of the ways they did that was to discredit Alan Kyerematen's might and candidature and admiration in the party at the level of the centralized structure of the party. And don't forget that the party should be able to have the resources to influence elections at that level, the level of the region, the level that involves appointees, the level that involves presidential staffers, council of elders. You've seen a list of alleged bribery amounts that were given to individuals for the purposes of this election. You have had factions, parts of the candidate, coming out to confirm that indeed there was some bribery from the side of the establishment. You have seen one aspirant also coming out to threaten the whole establishment. What it also means that Akufo-Addo has not only failed to give leadership to Ghanaians, he has failed to give leadership to his own party. That is who the man is. That is his nature. That is his character. That is what he brings to bear as a leader. And so Akufo-Addo has not only inflicted division in this country, he has not only relegated this country to the ground, he has also destroyed his own party.
But Bande, it's not an easy target for anybody to say, well, the president is supporting his vice president. It could be, it couldn't be 100%, but that's an easy target for anybody to do, isn't it?
Well, for us, that is not the case. The case is that we know that Akufo-Addo's support for Bawumia is deliberate, well designed, well calculated, because for any government or for any president who have committed the kind of atrocities Nana-Addo have committed in this country, he would want to cover his back. And to cover his back, he needs a vice president he has succeeded in using for the wrong reasons. All the wrong reasons that this government have engaged in this country, from promising the people, taking loans and not using same for the work. He used Bawumia. From going to deceive the people and not following. He used Bawumia. And so he means that he has a convenient partner who will cover up for him, demonstrating loyalty of leadership. And that is what exactly, and for me, that's a very smart, individualistic way. But what it is that the NDC's winning of 2024 elections is a national demonstration and resistance to leadership of broad-based corruption, leadership that divides the country, leadership that does not put the plight of the Ghanaians to work. That is what this government have demonstrated, and that is what would engineer the winning of the NDC.
All right. Okay. Mustafa, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Mustafa Gbande is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Now, Aquinas Knox is writing on Facebook. He says, just that sense of entitlement, Asemo. He wants the flag bearership to be handed to him without contest. That will be undemocratic. So that's Aquinas Knox's comment in there. But let me bring in Dr. Kabiru Mahama before I come to Honorable Champon. Honorable Kabiru Mahama, so you heard the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC say that the president only is supporting your candidate, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, because he wants to cover up his tracks for the many wrongs that he's done to the economy of this country. How do you respond to it?
I would say that it is absurd, but as it is ridiculous for the Deputy General Secretary and by extension the NDC to make such a wild allegation. But you can see that there's a pattern. Just like the one in CU mentioned, the same pattern has been taken by Mr. Dangwe. And I think that the NDC at any particular time in our history have always been afraid of anyone who would win an election from the NDC. And you realize that even history has told us that the same people were supporting Mr. Alex Johnson against Mr. President now, because they use issues that Mr. President is arrogant, he's thinking there is a sense of intelligence. They use all sorts of reasons saying that Mr. Alex Johnson was the best person for the NPP. So at all points, at any moment in time, they have always gone for a candidate. They know that he cannot win the power for the NPP. So that line of argument is expected of the NDC. You don't expect them to come saying that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the best and that he is the one who can win us power in 2024. They will want to, discredit his reputation. They will come at him, and we are ready. In fact, we want just November 4th to be over. And we will come marching Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia against Mr. John Mahama. And that is where we will be able to tell who is competent, who is corrupt, who has the demeanor, who has the country at heart, who has performed creditably and his mandate should be given, who has ultimate responsibility and has failed the people of Ghana. That is where we will come marching them with the record. But for now, our focus is on going through the process. We want to maintain a united front to finish the November 4 process. And the Vice President will select his running mate and will come marching them. I don't know, at that time, Ghanaians will tell if what the NDC is saying is the truth of the fact or what the NPP will say. Ghanaians will analyze the performance of both governments and the performance of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as Vice President. In just supposing that with the performance of John Mahama as Vice President as President. And the verdict will be out. And so at the end of the day, we are clear in our mind that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the right person. Help us win power in 2024.
All right. Oblite Kome says, unity is all we need as a party, irrespective of whoever wins this presidential election. Breaking the 8 is a must. Greetings to Dr. Da Costa Abuaje, Director of Health Promotion Division of the Ghana Health Service. Eben Ayim says, in fact, the way they are pushing us to a particular candidate will not help. That is that. Let me see. Okay. Dominic Dansu says, JM is coming. All right. Honorable. So you've heard there. They say for them, all that they are looking forward to is to come and meet Mr. John Mahama and for Ghanaians to really choose between Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and John Dramani Mahama, who is the best, and they are not really worried about what Alan Chamanti is doing. And it looks like your response is calculated. The NDC is doing the same line.
Because that's the fact of the matter.
Okay.
And we are not to choose a candidate for the NPP.
But they say that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to say that. Well,
and we are happy Bawumia will take the lead by the end of the day so that you can fight and win the 2024 elections. Because he has a lot of baggages. Do you understand? He did a lot of lectures. He made a lot of promises. When it comes to the city, the inflation, GDP growth, unemployment, and all that. So he will be measured. So if you bring a new person, that person will have excuses. That I wasn't part of the team, which caused all this mess for us. So I'm coming with a new vision, blah, blah, blah. But now Bawumia is telling us he himself has a new vision.
Yeah.
And if I have a new vision, why didn't you use that vision to support Akufo-Addo to succeed? Are you selfish? Are you greedy? Because you had the past president.
What if he has provided all of those suggestions?
Meaning it couldn't work. So what is it again that you want to give to Ghanaians? So we'll do the comparison in terms of personalities. So you look at the persona of John Mahama and that of Bawumia, what John Mahama was able to achieve for us in terms of growth, in terms of our GDP numbers, in terms of inflation. Inflation was 15%. Today, it's 43.2%.
It's even moved to 45 point something.
Look at food inflation. They picked the city at 3.8%. Today, between 11.5 to 12 Ghana cities. And even if we read through, the media review the minister presented to Parliament, he's telling us that non-performing loans has moved from 40.1% to 18.7%, meaning 4.6% of people contracting loans cannot pay.
But how is that the doing of the government?
Who's in charge of the economic management team? Who is in charge?
But if you take a loan and you can't pay back, is that the doing of the government?
Because the cost of borrowing is higher. The cost of doing business is also higher. Do you understand? Just last Monday, no, this week Monday, TB rate, Treasury bill, was 27%. But government went to the market and got 31.2%. 31.65%. Meanwhile, your lending rate is 30%. Because of the risk factor, if you incur a loss of 60.8 billion, negative equity of 55.1 billion, so the investor community will price you high because of the risk factor. And whose responsibility it is to make sure that the city is stabilized? It's the governor and the finance minister. Do you understand? So if you look at all these conditions, and Bawumia is the head of the economic management team, and we are saying you have a new vision to do what? You have more than 1 year to leave office. Just put your expertise into practice so that people will have a feeling of it. Because of this, you push more than 850,000 people into poverty line. Those who can eat 3 balls of kinky today are eating 1. You know the price of goods and services in town? You're a media person. You hear people complain about their circumstances. So they voted against NDC, hoping that NPP will come and do something right for them. And they've come to the understanding that they could have stayed with the NDC for things to be better. We used to pay interest payment alone was less than 10 billion by the end of 2016. Today, they are projecting 54 billion Ghana cedis. You see a stability of the city today because you suspended payment of interest and principal because of debt restructuring. So if you postpone payment of your interest and principal, by the end of the day, you go back to pay those debts, and the reality will face you.
Okay.
So we don't care who is leading the NPP, no matter what. 2024 will be a communal labor. Yes,
that's what you say.
National agenda.
Okay.
We need to save this country from a total collapse. Not to worry about that. You feel it, I feel it. We go to the same market. You have a vote, I have a vote. So don't say it's NDC, NPP matter. This national interest. Let's do this communal labor and kick off a Kufuor-Bawumia government away.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let me bring in Honorable Kwasefo again. Honorable, I've heard people suggest that it will be in the interest of your party if Alan Kyerematen is made the running mate to whoever wins. Is it something that you would ascribe to?
It's interesting. Normally, that is at the behest of the presidential candidate-elect. If the presidential candidate believes that per his vision, he needs someone like that. Don't forget, in 2017, when His Excellency, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, won the elections, the first person that he promised the trade community was
Mr. Alan Kyerematen.
Appointment of Alan Kyerematen as the trade minister, even though he contested him. So depending on the vision of the candidate, depending on how the person thinks that he can win the general elections, and if he needs Alan Kyerematen, so be it. As soon as the party declares a candidate as the winner, we will support his vision, we will support everything that he would want to do. But in the circumstances, I don't even see that to be a likely consideration.
Okay. But Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, I mean, you've been in the space for some time. Is this something the NPP should consider, making Alan Kyerematen, the running mate to whoever wins? A lot of people are saying, well, Bawumia will win. When he does, make Alan his running mate.
Well, I think that's up to the vice president to initially decide who, quote unquote, he feels comfortable with, has confidence in, wants to run with, and then get the approval of and the blessing of the party. But for me, looking at the dynamics now and how Mr. Alan Kyerematen is exiting, the race, I personally don't think it would be an advisable route to go. I mean, unless, of course, all of these grievances can be resolved to a level of satisfaction. And then again, Mr. Kyerematen wants to be president, right? I don't get the impression that he wants to be vice president, and so I just don't see how feasible a route is. But again, for me, if I look at the dynamics and the nature of the exit, I don't even think it is something that I would recommend that the party pursues as a viable option.
Okay, all right, Dr. Kabiru Mahama. So we're just about wrapping up. I don't know whether probably from the camp you've started discussing the possibility of making Mr. Alan Kyerematen a running mate. Is it something that has come up?
Something, even if it is brought out up, it is going to be premature. Like you said, anyone who wants to become the running mate to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia must first show that he really wants to become the running mate to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You must be with the people, you must be with the party, you must bring in something, you must be someone building bridges. These are the things that we'll look for, and someone who is going to complement Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's chances of winning the election. Mind you, he was brought in to support Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to win an election. So if anyone is also coming to support Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, that similar measure, that similar yardstick is going to be at the heart of the determination of who partners him. But that discussion hasn't started. The Vice President is focused now on the primaries. We will take one thing at a time. When everything is over, God willing, by the 4th of November, he will trigger the search for a suitable running mate. And that search will be much more embracing. It is going to be broad-based. And at the end of the day, we will not have doubt as to the one who will be picking, we will not have doubt that that person would contribute to the electoral forces of the NPP and supporting the economic development and growth agenda that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is going to lead. So basically, that is going to happen. But in the meantime, the team is focused on winning the November 4th election. And then thereafter, we will look at the possibility and options and who will potentially become the running mate to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kabiru Mahama, for joining. Grateful to you, Honorable Vincent Eko Asifua, MP for Otafo, for joining as well. To you, Dr. John Osai-Kwapa, I'm grateful that you could join us. And then in studio, I had Honorable Richard Achampon, MP for Bia East. He says he spent 11 years in Parliament and he's going to go for more, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I've gone through the primary, so
okay.
I'm contesting for the 2024 elections.
And you're
It's
confident?
by the grace of the people, and they've seen the handiwork of
Richard
Achampon or Richard Achampon, so they have no problem retaining me as a member of Parliament. So I may conclude by saying that MPP may have their own problems, but it's not over. Because they are going to have their elections.
4th.
And Ken can put a surprise on everybody.
Yeah.
Because he's a grassroots man, and then the people also like him. So let's see what happens come 4th of November 2023. So the issue about running mate, I don't think even Alan will accept this. Because throughout his life, he's just aspiring to become the president.
Not the vice president.
No. But he should have been the vice president instead of Alan.
All right.
So, but
I'm grateful.
I heard the president say a lot of things about Garamsey.
Anyway, but we didn't do that one, so thank you very much. All right, that's how we wrap up this segment of the show. This is still the AM show. A lot of you have still been sending in your comment. Akrokari Junior Terror says, it is very unfortunate for Alan Cash to resign from the election. He only knows why he has done that. May God bless this decision. NPP is still NPP. Keep serving Ghana and beyond. Dominic Dansu says, break the 5, not the 8. NPP government, never. Okay. So thank you all of you for sending in your comment. Keep commenting. We'll be sharing that with the rest of the world. We'll be back. When we are back, we have a chat with Expert Pharmacy. There's a product that they have on the market. Stay with us for you to learn how that will be of benefit to you. We'll be back.